approval of the June 13th, 2022 minutes. They're in your packet. Any questions, concerns? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to accept. Motion by Herbst, second by Killian. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That passes. Number 2 is the Human Resources Report for July. We have that in your packet. Any questions for our Human Resources person this month? Do you have a question, Gary? Go ahead.
Since I'm new, I have, with regard to the changes towards the end, the adjustments to the 3% or whatever because of different role responsibilities and added, do their job descriptions get changed because of these new responsibilities that were added to their job description, because which necessitated, which perhaps received their 3% or whatever, so the job description doesn't change as such?
No, the job description does not change. If we would change it, then we would have to go through our process to reevaluate, see if they actually stay on the same step or not. These changes are not enough to credit for a reassessment of the job.
So they're enough to gather a percentage, but not necessarily enough to
Change a grade.
to change a grade or to change the job description as such.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll put that on file. Discussion of the recruitment of the Human Resources Director. Do you want to take that, Ann, or do you want me to? Okay, I guess I'll take that. As you know, Tony left, and we have a company that does human resource searching. They have reached out to us. It's GovHR. They have reached out to numerous people to get a background. I know I was one. I think Mary Ann, were you? Okay, so numerous people just giving background, what we would, what we see as the traits we would like to see in HR, what issues are coming up. So this gentleman gave us kind of a timeline. It's in your packet. It isn't a short timeline. When we look for department heads, it takes a while. So we're not looking for anything happening really until the week of September 26th is when we hopefully will get the portfolio, from the consultant, and then review that, and then in October start interviews, second interviews, and hopefully we'll make an offer with someone beginning employment late November, early December. And that's up in the air. I know that we've had other department head positions open longer, but fingers crossed, this is the timeline that we're looking at. So I just thought it would be good to bring that forward to the committee so they have some idea of what we're looking at. Gary?
So are you, is the chair of the HR committee on the panel, or who it says city officials? Do we know who that panel will be?
I know for sure the mayor will be on that, and there'll be other department heads.
Okay. But you don't, the chair of HR doesn't sit on that?
I haven't been asked, so I don't think so.
Just curious.
Yeah, I haven't been approached, so I don't know who's part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Let me get back here. Okay. Sorry. Trying to.
Madam Chair.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
One question to Alder Gisselman's comment. If appropriate, would it be possible to have some HR committee presence, such as the chair, on that panel? Could we make such a request?
I would believe so. The mayor has her thumbs up, so she's the one who decides ultimately who's on that panel.
Thank you.
Okay. Your request was heard. Number 4, discussion and possible action approving a one-time lump sum, non-base building market adjustment to designated employees. This is being brought back from last term. It was noted as, and I really don't want to get through this rat hole again, but it was noted as a bonus, and it really was not considered a bonus. What it is for non-represented employees. For those who served last term, remember, that is when wages and things started, post-pandemic, started to churn. We eliminated the first steps for beginning employees and people that were here in those first few steps. We added some vacation for everyone as well. That left our people above midpoint who've been here longer without any action. So in talking about this with that and finance, the initiative was to give $1,000 one-time lump sum amount to those employees above midpoint as of December, December
31st.
31st. So, yes, above midpoint, because they were not affected by the other changes to the lower part of the pay scale. So we didn't want to leave them out. There was issues that were conflated. I'm not going to get through it, but there were issues conflated of it was mischaracterized as something else. This is exactly what it was supposed to do, is to give relief to those longer-term employees who were above midpoint as of the end of December of 2021. It's a one-time non-base building. That is nothing to do with any of the COLAs coming through. This was an attempt to mitigate that compression, because we had moved the lower steps up and they were here. We had to mitigate that compression. That was what our attempt was. The council decided to send it back. We looked at it and we believe that this is still appropriate, so we're bringing it back. I know there were a number of employees that wanted it brought back, so here it is. And any questions, I'll do the best I can. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I mean, the way you described it, the phrasing or terminology of this sounds a little less confusing or more positive last time around. And I think we should be committed to making sure city workers and staff are paid well and are paid in a manner consistent with their contributions and their service. The one challenge I think on this, just inherently, and part of that's kind of an issue just more with state policy actions in the last decade or two in relation to unions, is that it does segment, obviously, as it probably has to, between represented and non-represented employees, and even such as on, page 28 of the packet PDF, we see what are listed as differences, in terms of reaching a certain pay after different lengths of time for represented and non-represented. It feels to me that, whether it was with the city or in the private sector, there are benefits that unions offer and utilities they provide, and often it's higher pay and so forth. So I'm just a little concerned about being painted into a corner here about treating non-represented employees different than represented in this case, and whether it's called a bonus or something else. That would be my one concern, but I know it's well-intentioned. Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Gary.
But if I understand this right, the chart then for people below the midpoint was altered or changed. But this doesn't affect then the chart of those above the midpoint. This is just an added amount. So we're not, am I understanding that?
Not quite. So
Okay,
the
well-
chart below midpoint, what the council did is every 6 months, a person moved a step, so they moved 3%. So in 1 year's time, they will move from maybe step 2, mid-year, step 3, after a year, step 4. So they would have moved through the chart quite a bit faster than people above midpoint. Midpoint, they only move through the chart once per year, which is at 1.5%.
Can I ask why that was,
Why the 1.5?
no, why the two were split? I mean, why? Was that city council? I was
Back to the
gone.
philosophy of when we implemented the pay scale, the recommendation from the vendor was to have a yearly increase for below midpoint. And actually, their recommendation above midpoint was every other year increase. And we, as council, city employees, felt that if council would put a freeze on wages and someone was in between those mid-years, they would not see an increase. So we took that 3% that they wanted every other year to 1.5% every year to equalize that.
So that was an adjustment to the wage scale, which I remember that. And I had certain viewpoints on that at that time, which, so in one of the, which, those that experienced delayed implementation of the 2019 wage study received full implementation now in the 22 budget.
That is correct.
But if that would have, just so that I'm clear, that was not retrospective, that would have been just sort of taken those numbers from 2019 because they would have,
But they've also moved along the steps, so we've increased them. So no one stayed stagnant waiting for that.
okay,
So they still moved along the scales.
maybe I should just come up and have you explain what happened in the 2 years.
So what happened is, once it was fully implemented, so a person who was waiting to be fully implemented was still moving along the scale until full implementation. So this year is when they got full implementation.
But it would have been implementation at the 2019 numbers.
No, because our scale also
The
moved.
scale would have changed.
Yeah,
But the rate went,
the rate changed too, with the COLA and everything else. Because we implemented a COLA at the beginning of 2022.
okay. Okay, thank you. But this doesn't really do anything to the chart itself because it's $1,000 across the board.
Correct,
I mean,
non-base building, correct.
right. It doesn't do anything to their base, which we should be thinking about doing.
Which is what we're doing with, they are getting in their COLA,
Right, no,
2%.
but that's across the
Plus
board.
there's other ones going on, plus there's a wage study coming. So, I mean, it's cart before the horse. We have to do this so everyone it's fair,
Right, I
and so it's, municipalities have a tough thing. I just had a conversation with a new council member this week about, well, your employer has one classification of employees, considering we have 3 different unions
And 91.
and 91
And non-union
job
jobs.
descriptions, 91 different jobs. So, I absolutely agree with you, Gary. I'm all for, we need to get our wages in line. I'm absolutely for that. And I pushed the COLA last, that 2% for immediate relief. I think this is fair for the employees that were above midpoint. They should have had it last term. That's just my feeling personally. But, you know, and we have some other issues coming on, a number, you know, we have a number 5 coming. So, and we can talk about that. Plus I'm hearing the wage study is coming, you know, we're getting some results of that. Some people, you know, coming back with their RFPs. So, you know, I think that we're still rolling that train. This is just something that I was disappointed it went tabling, but it was what I needed to do with this because of all the other issues that were brought up that really had nothing to do with what this was. So I wanted to clean the tables and bring it out new. I think this is, personally, I think this is something that needs to be done for our employees. They had expected this, and it is for those over midpoint until we can get either new wage study or get the COLAs going. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure that I clearly understand this. We would be giving $1,000 to a certain number of employees, which would then come to a total of $101,000, correct?
Correct.
I am totally in favor of this. I agree with the chair. This should have been taken care of last year. Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Gary. You look like you're going to ask a
Well-
question, so.
How many, well, so this is 100 employees then?
101.
101 employees?
Just like the Dalmatians. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just checking.
Go ahead, Gillian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to Alder Herp's point about certain designated employees, that would be non-union employees then, correct?
Yes, non-represented.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion. Okay, we have a motion by Herbst, second by Martins. Any other questions or concerns? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, that passes 4-1. Okay, number 5, discussion and possible action approving a cost of living adjustment for non-represented employees for 2023. Oh, you want me? I'm not used to this. Okay, hang on, sorry. Wait.
Do you want me to speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Start.
So again, this is in the Human Resource Committee packet. The reason why we're bringing this today is because we're looking at our budgets for 2023 already. City has already granted a 2% cost of living increase for non-representative employees. We're going to be discussing the transit union after this with what their increases were. The police and fire unions have negotiated already for 2022, and we will be coming into contract negotiations with them for 2023 and 2024. The Human Resource Department, we have initiated a RFP process for a market study to align with our non-rep pay structures. However, the study is expected to take some time. So this is to help kind of alleviate what could possibly be happening for 2023. So again, it's a good time to do it because we are in budget season right now, so we can plan ahead and not be caught off guard with what possibly can happen with that wage study.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so this would, cost of living increase would go in effect January 1 of 2023.
Correct, or the
Correct.
first pay period.
Okay. So so there's a 2% COLA for this year, and then next year, we're anticipating 3%.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Killing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would there be any reason from a kind of a time frame perspective that we couldn't revisit this perhaps after the market study?
I
Or
understand.
perhaps
I
later in
understand, and
2022?
There would be, I guess we could say that, as long as finance would keep that money open. I worry about the budget season coming and going. That's my only worry. Wage study, I guess I'm going to go to Ann. Ann, do you believe that how fast can we get this wage study done?
Honestly, I believe it's going to be probably past January, just for the fact that when it was presented, it got bounced by a full month from it starting. And, just like everywhere else, wage study places, they are short on help also.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak here?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, we've, as local units of government, have been talking about this in other meetings and venues. CCIT, we've talked about it. So we have people from North Central Healthcare and the county represented there. And it's also a topic when we have our municipality gatherings. And just to provide a little bit of context, everyone was pretty impressed with what this body's already kind of done for this year for employees, because they're all trying to catch up. I'm hearing some municipalities are looking at like 8 and 9% COLAs, which it would be very hard probably to do that this budget cycle, but the fact that we've been kind of keeping up right now is important. So I'm just here to tell you, I think this is probably a good move. I would love to see it revisited too after that wage study, but I know this is a process. So thanks for your consideration.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
so when do we anticipate the wage study being, I'm sorry,
I would say after January 1st, definitely. I would say by the time we get all the information and that being able to implement, so that way if we've got 3%, we can look at the wage study and then make better items of if we need to come back again for more money. As the mayor had indicated, a lot of municipalities and places like that are looking at quite large increases for COLAs. So again, this would help offset, a drastic amount of ask.
I get the cost of living, that 3% for sure, but I think that we're going to be having to, even in 2023, I think, even if it be retro, I think we really have to put some more money aside into the budgetary for 2023, so that in the early parts of 2023, we can go back and make some wage adjustments to where we're really falling short. And I sense that from a lot of places, and I would want the city to be able to act on that and not wait and not feel that we have to wait to the 2024 budget. So I think, Madam Chair, and I think the HR department sort of works, and I know that this is going to do some kind of harm to next year's budget, but I think the city has to face the fact that major adjustments to employees are going to have to be done, and I don't think we should wait to 2024. I think that we should be able to act and have the money appropriated in 2023. I'm for,
Right,
in the
right.
meantime, 3%, but I'm thinking that there's going to have to be adjustments almost across the board. So I would hope that budgetary numbers are put in, not to the fact of 9 or 10% COLA, but at least so that this committee and the city council is prepared for the results of that wage study.
I think finance is going to have to be prepared. And that, are you having conversation excuse me, conversations with the finance director.
Have
You
talked
know,
to her.
okay, I would hope there's conversations being had with Mary Ann and with the mayor that we are expecting some of this, you know, we're expecting the wage study to show some discrepancies and that we need that funded, you know, when that comes. I agree with you, Gary, when that comes, because it's just taking, we were bounced a month from finance once. We're going to have to just have that wage study, you know, and that's why we have, you know, a smaller wage study. It's more focused, so it's not going to take so long. And when it does come back, you know, I would like that tranche of money available for 2023. So you know, we're going to, unfortunately, you are the HR director right now. So, you know, we're going to put it on you that you're going to have start having conversations with the finance director and such.
But I think that, also, I think that we have to be in support, I mean, this committee has to be in support of that thinking, so that when this does come to finance and when this does come to the city council, you know, this committee is in league with that, because I'm hearing this from people in the city of Wausau, and I think that this committee will hopefully drive that, you know, and not laying it all on the HR staff, but, you know, working into the city council's decision with regard to the 2023 budget.
Well, I think that, I mean, you can see what's happened. I got that $1,000 put back. I mean, it took this long. This committee has been bringing things forward, and I think we've done a good job. You know, we in the last couple of years, we've really done a lot with vacation and wages and steps and COLAs, more than we've done since I've been here in the 7 years. But as you said, we need to do that, but it starts with the HR director going to the HR, you know, or to the finance and saying, okay, you know, get sharpening your pencils, because we need this tranche of money, and I don't know what it is going to be, but I think that's where we start. I think the committee's made it very clear and, you know, if this passes, of what our intentions have been for the last year and a half, you know, is to increase wages and to increase benefits and to increase whatever we can to keep our employees, you know, satisfied, you know, and paid the wage that they deserve. That is our goal. But we have 11 people that we have to bring along, so. So any other questions or concerns? Go ahead, Alder Killian.
Oh, thank you. And I agree with Alder Gisselman, and hopefully our colleagues on the council will agree with the overarching premise that we should be compensating city workers better in general. I think it forces this committee into uncomfortable one-offs like we just saw in the last agenda item, and the city's finances and how it allocates them should reflect its priorities, and one of those priorities should be actually compensating city workers well. So I think that should be an overarching strategy, so we don't have to go back and just plug holes in the dam as they keep arising. So yes, I will feel much more comfortable when we get to a point where we have just a strategy of better compensation than these items, and I think the ultimate responsibility will be with finance and the rest of the council. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to make a comment. I'm sure that this 3% is also for wastewater department and water department. And I'm just going to quote Scott Bohr as a water superintendent. He simply said that people in the city and their employees, they do watch these meetings. And he said, basically, this 3% cost of living is a slap in the hand. He said, we've become a training center where we train people and then they leave us to go to better paying positions. So yeah, I agree with Tom. We got to plug the holes in the dam. We have to pay these people what they're worth, or we're going to be on a downhill slide. Thank you.
So if there's no other questions, I'll take a motion to pass this. Anybody want to? Okay, I have a motion by Gisselman, second by Herbst. Any other questions or concerns on this item? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, that passes 4-1. Okay, we now have a closed session, so if somebody would like to read that closed session, I'd be very appreciative.
Pursuant to section
No, it's got to be one. Thank you, though. They have to make a motion, so, yeah.
I'll read
Oh,
it.
thank you, Mike.
I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to section 19.851 sub E of the Wisconsin State Statutes, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for the purpose of discussing the tentative bargaining agreement with Amalgamated Transit Union.
Can I have a second to that? Second by Herbst. Okay, and then we need to do a roll call vote to go into closed session. Gisselman. Yes. Killian.
Aye.
Martins.
Aye.
Herbst. I'm aye as well. We're in closed session. We will return to open. Thank you.